1880s, two young boys named George and John Pickett were traveling with their church group in Williams Canyon. That's the canyon we drove up to get up here, all right? Now they heard a howling noise in the distance, and being two young boys of 8 and 9, they had to follow it. They followed it all the way to two large sinkholes in the ground, underneath one of which was a cave entrance. Again, being two young boys, they had to go down. All right, they made it all 40 feet before their candle was snuffed out and the howling noise began again. So they ran. They ran all the way back to Manitou, screaming about a haunted cave. They barely made it out alive, but nobody believed them, of course, except for one man. His name was George Snyder. He was a part-time journalist and a master stones carver by trade, and he decided the story might be a good lead. So he followed it. He dug in that original entrance for 2 days before poking his head right through there. Now, as soon as he poked his head through that entrance, y'all can come up. I don't bite, I promise. Now, as soon as he poked his head through, he saw this formation right here. This to him looked like Canopy sitting in an opera house, and being a huge opera fan, he named this hall Canopy Hall. All right, a few important formations you're going to see on our tour. We have stalactites. They hang tightly to the ceiling. And over here we have our own stalagmites. You might trip over them. All right, behind you two in the back, we have between our two lights this piece of flowstone. This is created when mineral-rich water deposits its minerals down a stone as it flows down it, creating that frozen waterfall effect. Now, the only formation in the cave, our most archaic, that you are always allowed to touch. Stalagpipes. The jokes don't get any better than this, so laugh now, all right? Thank you. These are here for your convenience, so if you feel like you might get to use them, please do, right? And come on down.
Throw a coin, Alan.
Sometimes they come, they try to travel around. There are a lot of bats in this canyon, because there's a lot of caves in the canyon. But they quickly find out that there's a lot of rain. Uh-oh. Gotta watch out for them, right? Yeah. Now, welcome to Boston Avenue, everybody. They will fly at your face. I'm just kidding. They will. Okay. Now, this is the first passageway on our tour. Now, some of our original travelers through the cave were from Boston, Massachusetts, and they said that the tight, narrow, winding passageway reminded them of the streets in their hometown. Now, I cannot attest to that, but I can attest to the fact that this clearance is 4'10". So as we go through, please watch your head.
Perfect for you. It's like 5 foot kids. Usually well, too bad. I feel like by the end of this, I'm done. Go. Hit my head. I don't want to turn my flash on.
I'm going home.
Then go forward.
Oh yeah, here's the ladders.
Alright, we can. Alright, everybody, welcome to Reception Hall. It took us about 2 to 3 minutes to get here, but for original travelers, it took them 45 because they were traveling through that hole.
Oh, no,
Yikes, right? No, that was because the original cave floor was where the rough stone meets the smooth, right in the middle there. Now, to continue on their tour, they had to crawl up this ladder, dry wood and rope, right? They quickly realized that candle flame did not make soda, so they would snuff out the candles there before crawling almost 20 feet in complete cave darkness. Who wants to go up first?
I'll go.
We can just chuck the kid up there. Alright, now, the reason we have this beautiful floor and room to walk and stand is because it's it's my first tour of the day, so it might take me a couple tries to speak, alright? Now, it's because of an art called cave pushing, the reason we have this nice area to walk. They would push dirt, rock, and debris from the original floor and push it into inconsequential corners like the ones you see behind you. Now, a formation we'll see a lot of on this tour. Come on in, come on in. You alive? Alright. This is called ribbon stalactite. It is formed when water travels down the slant of the ceiling, depositing its minerals in that water's fashion. Now, imagine washing a load of 3'8" as we head up this next staircase, alright? Please watch it.
Jesus. 3'8". You were listening.
This is the room that leads to our crystal palace, named such because of these formations on the ceiling here. Looks a bit like it should be underwater, right? This is called white beaded anthodite, also known as cave coral. It is extremely rare and scientists aren't exactly sure how it forms, so we're extremely blessed to see you here today. Now, after the crystal palace will be our soda straw stalactite nursery. These are little baby stalactites. They're about 1,000 to 3,000 years old, as it takes them about 800 to 1,000 years to form 1 cubic inch, about the size of my thumbnail. Alright, now, the way a stalactite forms is there's a little fissure in the cave, a little crack, and through that crack, water seeps through. Now, the minerals in the water, as it rests on the cave ceiling, leaves a ring as that droplet rests, alright? But eventually, that droplet of water leaves the cave ceiling, it drops down to the floor, and leaves its minerals behind, alright, in that ring-like fashion. Now, another droplet of water replaces that, leaving another ring of minerals, drops to the floor, and another, until that hollow ring closes up, and we see the huge stalactites we know and love today. But these are still our little babies, so they still have that hollow ring, so we call them soda straws. Now, after our nursery will be Old Bruiser. He is the heavyweight champion of the cave. He has knocked out more guests and guys than any rock in this cave. So, we will be playing a little game of telephone. I will be pointing out Bruiser. If you could do the same for the guests behind you, that would be wonderful. I don't want you falling unconscious, okay?
Okay, follow behind Daddy.
No, instead we're just gonna hop over this railing and just make our way down.
Oh, we gotta go this way.
Oh, but that's not even our tour?
That's probably your thing. Probably your thing. Oh my god. You made me stiff.
Whatever I have any cell phones there somewhere. Nope.
Why would this rain here?
I don't know what we're doing.
You're telling me right.
Go back down that way, I'm not sure.
Alright, everyone, welcome to Temple of Silence. This room was named such because in 1929, when Dinner found it, no one wanted to have a conversation. No. At the top of the room, maintenance checks the light bulbs every month, and they notice tree roots. This indicates that we're about 20 to 30 feet below the surface, making this the shallowest and highest room in Cave of the Winds. Now, in front of the top of the room, we see our ring of stalactites. This to us looks like a gaping shark mouth, so we call the formation Jaws. Now, fortunately, we are not in Italy, but we do have our very own Leaning Tower of Pisa. Right next to it, we have E.T. still phoning home, or a zombie hand if you're younger than that. Now, about halfway down the slant, which you can see better with my light off, we have Guide's lucky number 7. This is a helictite. That is a stalactite that has grown in an obscure manner. There are a lot of arguments as to how it forms, but a popular theory is that at one point, Cave of the Winds, right, the cave was open and wind gusted through, causing the formation to grow horizontally. Now, all of a sudden, the wind stopped, causing the formation to resume its normal stalactite growth. Now, about all the way down the slant, we have our broken column. We have the stalactite and the stalagmite that form to meet in the middle. That's how a column forms. Now, this was broken when we found it. There are a couple of theories as to how it broke. I mean, if you observe the slant of the room, there could have been a mudslide, or it could have had something to do with the 13-year-old boys who found the room. But, you know, just theories, alright? And all we really know for sure is the two will never ever be back together again, so we call them Romeo and Juliet. But on a happy note, we have the largest piece of cave bacon in the cave. It is 4 feet long and 1 foot wide in the middle. We call it the Colorado bacon. Alright, now unfortunately, the rest of us could have the right of the room. We could have the right of the room. Thank you very much. Point of our tour took us about 22 minutes to get here, but for the original crawling tour, it took them 3 to 4 hours. This would be the first point in the tour that they could actually sit up and talk to one another, so they would take advantage of that. Our guide would sit right here on this table-like formation and eat his lunch on that chair, chair-like formation, and eat his lunch on that table-like formation right next to it. Now, of course, that was before we realized that was harmful to the ecosystem. If you notice, there are darker and shinier bits of rock. Those are dead. But on a happy note, slightly gothic, we do have Giant's Bleeding Heart. This is our piece of flowstone of the cave. It has iron oxide. Does anybody know what iron oxide is? Rust. That's right, it is a fancy name for rust. And that rust gives it its reddish hue, so we can imagine ventricles and heart chambers and fun stuff like that. Now this wall is man-made, so feel free to lean on it as you look up as we pass on by, right?
Dreams of months.
We're not. You have to crawl.